Sawasdee Krap and welcome to Thailand News Today. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. Now we've done a little video today called the top 10 ways of avoiding dengue fever. That's all we need at the moment is another virus. It might give you a few tips on ways that you can avoid having to face up to dengue fever, which is quite prevalent this year around Thailand, particularly in the northeastern regions. But anyway, let's get stuck into today's news. Out of nowhere this morning, the CCSA announced 22 new COVID-19 infections over the past 24 hours. That's the most number of cases that's been identified in Thailand in one day since April this year. That raises the country's total of infections to 3,545. 16 of the new cases have come from imported cases and became apparent whilst they were in quarantine during routine tests. The people have arrived from South Sudan, 4 people from India, 1 from Pakistan, 1 from the Philippines. Meanwhile, a doctor at the Faculty of Medicine at Bangkok's Chulalongkorn University says reducing the quarantine period from 14 days to 7 would be courting disaster. Dr. Tira Waratanarat made the statement after a suggestion from the Tourism and Sports Minister that quarantine could be halved if all goes well when Thailand reopens its borders to a limited number of foreign tourists. He said, in Thailand, if we decide to follow the proposal to reduce the quarantine time to 7 days, it would be an invitation to disaster. Well, last week and even up until the end of Saturday and even today, Thai immigration officials have been flooded with foreigners going to the immigration offices around the country trying to find ways to extend their visa or other means of staying in the country since the visa amnesty finished on Saturday officially, September the 26th. The end of the amnesty, allowing visitors with lapsed visas to remain in the country, put many in a difficult situation, especially after a warning from the government that people could face fines and jail for overstaying. But foreigners could have 1 more month to figure it out. The news will come as a massive annoyance to those who went through the hoops last week to meet the deadline, although many thousands simply failed to get an appointment or satisfy the extension requirements or simply had no flights to leave the country. The government estimates around 150,000 foreigners were living in the country on amnesty. Now there's an unofficial letter on official Thai government letterhead floating around claiming that the visa amnesty will be extended until October the 31st. It said the letter's waiting to be signed by the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, which would then be published in the Royal Gazette. The letter title translates loosely as Extension for Foreigners Staying in Thailand. Meanwhile, the Phuket News is reporting that their local immigration office plans to start charging people with overstays from tomorrow. Well, there's still plenty of confusion about the end of the visa amnesty or not. We'll do our best to bring you the latest information at thetiger.com. The former Anti-Corruption Commissioner, Wisha Mahakun, who's led the investigation into the Warayut Bosuyuvidya case, which has been running since 2012, says Thailand's justice system needs an urgent overhaul. The Red Bull heir and grandson of co-founder Chaleo Yuvidya, Boss, stood accused in a 2012 hit-and-run case that caused the death of a 47-year-old Bangkok police officer who was hit by Boss's Ferrari and dragged over 100 metres before the car fled the scene. Boss was never brought to justice and is believed to be living outside Thailand, having managed to flee the kingdom in 2017. Now, the chairman of the investigating panel says the whole Boss fiasco proves that Thailand's legal system needs to be reformed. He says the decision to drop all charges in the case clearly came about as a result of systemic corruption in the ranks of Thailand's police and judicial departments. He said, why was the case that should have been closed within a year delayed for 8 years? There's a legal proverb, justice delayed is justice denied. An attempt to delay it gives a clue. Thailand's cracking down on online gambling. Internet providers will have 15 days to block over 1,200 illegal gambling sites. Although gambling's technically illegal in Thailand, underground and online gambling thrives in pockets of the country. The Digital Economy and Society Ministry was ordered by PM Prayut Chan-o-cha to crack down on illegal online gambling. The PM ordered the ministry to block the hundreds of gambling websites within the next 15 days. The ministry's requested 1,202 court warrants citing Computer Crime Act violations. The National Broadcasting and Telecommunications Commission is collaborating with the ministry to block access to the gambling websites. The strict order is aimed at keeping teenagers away from online gambling. Well, the Thailand Meteorological Department is saying that the rain that we've had in the 24 hours will continue in pockets of the country. Last night there were heavy rains and flooding in parts of inner city Bangkok. Cars were stuck in knee-deep water and footpaths were inundated in several inner city suburbs, including Prakanong. Phuket also had a rough night of high winds and rain. For most of Thailand, the most rainfall is accumulated in September and October, making them the wettest months. We have a special story about Thailand's monsoon. That link is under here in the description. Well, that's all the main news from Thailand News Today. Don't forget to subscribe. And that's good for us and it's good for you because you'll get some alerts. We appreciate you watching Thailand News Today. We're here 5 days a week and we'll be back tomorrow.